Hello there, welcome back to the live action for the European Youth Ultimate Championship 2019 in beautiful Wrocław, Poland. The weather is great. We are up for an amazing play in the mixed division. Spain taking on the European pickup team EUtopia. I am joined in the booth by Benji Rees, me, myself, Christina Obermeyer. Benji, how are you doing today?
I'm in a pretty good mood. The sun's shining. We've watched some good Ultimate. We're seeing it. We're seeing a team representing a proud nation that doesn't really exist. What more can you ask for?
Well, I'm not going to ask for anything more right now. But what was that team? It doesn't really exist. The country that doesn't really exist.
EUtopia, right? I mean, I know you can get all the jokes out now about how a Brit not recognising the idea of the European Union, you know, whatever, forget about it. But it's good to see the fact that the EUtopia team exists. It was created almost like the EYUC equivalent of the United European Islands or Courier Island. In fact, with players who were left without a team but still want to play at this event have been coordinated and put together to represent EUtopia, taking on Spain here. Both teams having a mixed set of results coming into this contest. Both sides have won 2 games and lost 2 games. Spain went down 12-9 to Latvia and took a bit of a pounding, it has to be said, to Hungary, 13-3. But since then they've beat Turkey 15-12. They beat the Netherlands 13-10. Was a bit of an upset to people. And actually this morning, going 3-2 with a win over the Czech Republic, 13-9. EUtopia went down 15-7 to Latvia, 15-10 to the Netherlands, beat the Czech Republic 15-12, Turkey 15-7, and now playing this game here against Spain.
So we are getting started as Spain comes out on offense first. Torres with the disc, swings it over to Cordero. Back into the safe hands of Felix Padilla, who's been done so much, and he's gonna huck it deep. Amazing throw into the air and collected by Cordero with rather ease, getting up high, climbing the ladder after there's 2 EUtopia players under him, but great play, great awareness by the Spanish player.
Luna Nocello tried to peel in from the backside, but couldn't get there in time. Cordero went up big, went up early, snagged it out of the air, and a strong start to this game for the Spaniards, taking a 1-0 lead. That's exactly what you want to do to begin a contest against a team that you probably don't necessarily know a huge amount, because they're bringing together players from 9 different countries, the EU.
So we can see that replay one more time. Getting big awareness that there's a player behind him. Great stuff to start the first point of this game.
Cristobal Rodriguez is the defender there for the EUtopia side. He just gets beaten towards that far sideline, and again, so the other defender tries to come in to poach, but she's never going to get there in time, and then rather than just cause a slightly awkward landing, just sacks off a little bit, knowing that she's never going to get that disc.
EUtopia will take the field, the first offensive possession of their own right here. You know, I love that through this mixed division, Spain actually gets the opportunity to play as a mixed team. I know last cycle in Venedal, they did bring girls on their open team, and now they're getting the perfect opportunity to play as a whole team together.
Yeah, they've got enough of a female youth presence now that rather than just sending an open side with a couple of ladies along, they've just put together a full mixed team, which is great to see.
As there is EUtopia taking the field. Great movement down the field. Botalai over Turgaguli, and he's going to send it deep for score. Ringeberg with a great collection, just opening up the space and getting an immediate shot.
Nice clean start to both sides to begin this game. Hold for Spain and then a hold for the EUtopia as well. And Ringeberg is one of the decent, I mean, decent is uncertain, quite a large Swiss women's contingent on this side. 8 Swiss women here on this EUtopia side, wanted to enter and represent their country, but they couldn't get enough players together. So they come here to play over with EUtopia and making their presence felt early. Just that's a really nice reaching snag with that right hand from Lisa Ringeberg.
As her fun fact, we can see she sometimes runs like a windmill, and this probably made her get that grab easily with her arms spreading out wide, getting a hold of that disc as it floats right in front of her.
Yeah, go gadget style, using that reach to her full advantage.
So clean hold so far. Great start into the game. Both teams managed to work well against that wind.
There's a little bit of a breeze. You can see it just in those EUF flags in the background of your shot there. Not a huge amount, but certainly enough that if you're just a little bit lazy in some of these throws, that it can affect. So you really need to make sure that you're getting that snap through the wrist, generating a lot of revolution on these discs.
Pull goes up for EUtopia. And Pulido to collect the disc. Quick dish off over the top to Cordero. Good pressure, and he's going to send it deep after desperation shot, but not a Spanish body near. Just high stall situation, has to huck it deep. And EUtopia get their first opportunity for a break as Ferdinand Holzner picking up the disc.
That offense was very cluttered for the Spaniards and had no other option really than just to try and get the disc deep, try and get a little bit of field position on that turn.
Indeed, and EUtopia now up against a zone look by the Spanish, but happy to just swing it around between the handlers. The disc is collected by Rodriguez. They're in the middle of the pitch, looks for an option deep, but opts to go back for the dump. Over to Holzner at the near sideline right now. Spain doing a great collection as Holzner is up with a big shot, and it's easily collected by the 22 shot of Pulido, working in the deep space for the French, Spanish.
Seeing the risk of these sideline shots. Obviously, the receiver has to wait for this to come back in bounds, but the defender can go up and attack it nice and early. And EUtopia never really had a chance of bringing that one in.
Pinello there in the middle, putting it over to Rossi. Back to Pinello again. Over to Pulido there, clattering a lot of people around the disc. And a huge chance by Pulido. It's gonna float and be collected. But a 23 shot of Cordero, a second goal for the Spanish and a second goal for Cordero here. Start of this first half of action.
Not a clean possession that for Spain, but they did make it count at the second time of asking. Ferdinand Holzer sagged off a little bit there on the deep cut, tried to give him space to go up early and attack it before the receiver would have a chance, but in the end he misjudged it a little bit, got too far underneath it and could only watch it go over to his head into the waiting hands of Juan Cordero for the Spanish score.
Yeah, Holzner misreading that just a little bit, but good effort from him. He's actually one of the Austrian U17 guys, was not collected for this roster here, but managed to get to play the tournament with the EUtopia team. His brother playing for the under-20 Austrian division, and I think his mom is watching the stream, so shout out to her, just looking out for her boys.
Shout out to the Holzner family. And apparently, actually, the coaches occasionally get him and 91 shirt Otis Hoffman confused. I've yet to see them stand next to each other, but I imagine without shirt numbers on the back, there's probably some similarity.
You can see Otis here catching that pole. Working in the handler set as Holzner is, so, trying to confuse them might happen a couple of times as EUtopia worked the disc up the field comfortably as Spain sneaks in just a little bit of a run-through layout defense, and they immediately take a timeout. Number 50 shirt of Felix Pedro Padilla, who immediately takes the disc for a timeout. Veteran move there to get their first break started on even terms.
You see he has the inside track there, and rather than just trying to get a hand in the way as he's laying out, he's really getting the full force of that right hand, slapping down on the disc, knocking it to the turf, and instantly taking the timeout, giving Spain a chance to get their offense set to get the game's first break and open up a 2-point lead. And
a good shot to start for the good place to start the game here. Again, for the Spanish, they have a rather short field to work the disc up in, and this is up the wind, so if they can contain it and get a break here early, that means that EUtopia will have to work it up the field if they're for their normal offensive hold, which is going to be a hard thing to do. And that is a very preferred position the Spanish are in here right now, so we'll just have to wait and see what they can do on what their D-line can do on offense this time.
Yeah, obviously always interesting to see how your D-line offense is sometimes a little bit different than the stuff that your O-line plays. Generally, you associate D-lines with being a little bit more athletic and a bit more unrefined, keener to take those big shots, knowing that if they turn it over, they back themselves to get it back a little bit more.
But there's no need to take a deep shot, as a deep shot would maybe go over the back line of the field here.
I think part of how you play here, just you get the setup that you want, and then you just find out how EUtopia are going to play this. Are they going to play it honestly? Maybe they're going to poach off the hands a little bit, in which case the option should immediately be a swing into the centre. Just take what this defence begins to give you. It looks like they're just going to go one-on-one here, so they can look to get their offense set into a normal rhythm.
And Spain coming out here in a horizontal setup, trying to maybe isolate a cutter or two, and immediately puts it in the end zone, but it's going to be pushed down by that wind that has been picking up a bit.
Looking for that roll curving backhand down the far sideline. Just didn't get enough air under it that time. Came out of the hands quite low and just only continued to sink to the turf, whereas just maybe tilting the back edge of the disc down a little bit just to get a bit more of the wind underneath it might have been useful there.
A very hard shot to take as EUtopia takes the field. Otis here at the near side with the disc, fakes a lot, but the Spanish player getting back his defense for an effort and puts it into the hands of his teammate, into a quick dish into the end zone for a goal. Gonzalez collects the shot from the 78 shirt of Torna.
2 Ds that point for Petardo, and so I imagine we'll see him be a big defensive player for this side. And EUtopia were able to get a break on the, or get a turn, on the Spanish offense on their last trip to the field, but couldn't convert it. And the difference here is, even though the Spanish couldn't convert it, they were able to get it back at the second time of asking, and that time they did make it count. So first break of the game going the way of Spain, just opening up a little bit of advantage early on in this game, but still plenty of time to come here.
We can see that dish into the end zone, just tight coverage and a mismatch as well. Just using the opportunity they got there and for a quick score. You can hear the fans of the Spanish cheer on the sideline, and if you are watching at home and want to support either side or just Europe in general, as EUtopia is representing them, just give us a quick shout out. I am at Christina Obermeyer on Twitter.
You find me at Benjamin Rees on Twitter, at Benji Rees on Instagram as well.
As EUtopia is back on offense. A great reception by the 88 shirt of Rodriguez at the near side, putting it over to Michelbach. Michelbach and Wuffere doing 1 and 2 here in the handler set. Gaguil now. Rodriguez fakes a lot, doesn't see any option he likes, gonna put it in the middle, and it's well defended by Gonzalez, who smacks the disc down to the ground and will pick up as well for the Spanish side.
I'd like to see a more concerted effort to isolate a reset there, really flip the hips 180 degrees and give the reset player a bit more time to get free, really show that commitment that you're going to stay with that reset.
And there's this huge hammer shot over the top and collected by not one but two Spanish players in that space on the break side, and that's a double break, 2 breaks in a row for the Spanish, as we see EUtopia take a timeout. And you know, we talked a bit about the wind picking up, and normally if you get that one crucial up the wind break, a second break down the wind is often coming right after, because working it up the wind is always a hard task.
Yeah, as you're right, as you mentioned, often if you can get that break with the wind, against the wind, the one with the wind follows as well. And that time just trying to squeeze it through that front line defenders, but Spain were wise to it. And you see so many of these hammers to the break side in the end zone here, because with space at a premium, it's really important that you use what they're giving you, and finding ways to access that break space as quickly as possible is always a boon for your offense. And more teams are being less reticent to throw those overheads, bringing them out of the locker a little bit more. And that time, they were into space. There were 2 players there, but fortunately for Spain, they were both red shirts. So here's the thing. Here's a question I have. You know how when you get to finals day, you always see teams come out and they stand in front of their stand and they do the national anthem. If EUtopia was to make a storybook run to the finals here, what would they play for the EUtopia national anthem?
Well, they should just compose a song of their own, because just putting.
So this is interesting, because I had a suggestion, and Maestro Mike Palmer in our little talk back in our headphones has given me the exact suggestion that I was going to make. So now I don't think it's as funny as it was, and that I was going to suggest they play the final countdown by Europe.
That is a great idea.
It's a great song as well.
Yeah, that's true, but then rather fitting for a final.
Right, exactly, and it would I think it would do a very, very good job of pumping you up as a team. I find a lot of national anthems are a bit flat, a bit boring, but I think if I go out and I hear the final countdown playing, I'm going to want to go and
Exactly.
I'm going to get amped.
Yeah.
I'm going to go and want to cause a bit of trouble out there. Speaking, obviously, as a Brit who has what I think is a terrible national anthem. So bad. Oh, it's an absolute dirge.
Well, I think a lot of those national anthems are very traditional. And gotta like it or not, we see Meg Goldbuch, one of the coaches for EUtopia, get the disc, collect the disc, and it's gonna be bricked.
Meg Goldbuch was a player who I was so impressed with when she represented Germany under 24s a few weeks ago out in Heidelberg.
She is an amazing player herself, and I love her taking on that coaching role for this mixture of European teams. As we see a great hand block by the 24 shirt of Theo Perez. They're recognizing the play and just getting up high to smack that disc down as Felix is getting that disc into the end zone. Spain fired up, getting a great momentum after the timeout and punching in another upwind score.
Claudia Bernabé with the goal there and rocking the skort as well. Don't see enough of that nowadays. I think it's coming into fashion a little bit more, and we're just seeing there the little block. The foot gets in the way and it baits that high release that has to go, and really wise to it in the cup. Very sharp, smart defense there from Spain. We've seen quite a few teams go for those little backhands over the top of the cup, and Spain very much wise to it, and then beautiful inside shot towards the far side, into the hands of Bernabé. And another break here for Spain after 2 clean holes to begin this game. Spain running away with a little bit now for 5-1.
I actually do love that over the top high release backhand shot, but especially against a zone, if you have some tall people in the cup, you have skirt look by the young Spanish player.
I think Scots are going to make a comeback. I can feel it. There's a player's name I cannot remember right now, and it's going to really annoy me. Oh, Lucia Rotero, I think possibly for Spain at EYUC made some ridiculous grabs, and the fact that she was wearing the Scot, I think it's just going to raise it to prominence.
Yeah, a lot of these women rocking the Scots over there, and beautiful Portimao as EUtopia gets another look at offense with Holzner on the disc, dishing it over to Rodriguez. And another defense in the cup for the Spanish. This cup defense working so well for them, as Torna with the disc right there, putting up a huge side arm, and wall collected by Cordero, and over back to Zagales Torres. Just working it around now, losing yards. Spain there with great pressure by the EUtopian defense. Torna back with the disc over to Torres, and can't hang on to it. Roman Pañuelo, and a huge face block by the shooting her own player into the head, I believe. He winds up for a huge backhand, but is defended immediately by her own player.
Maybe spooked a little bit by the fact that they're in the shadow of their own end, so it's just thinking, let's play some field position, let's try and get it out, seeing someone in that deep space so we can try and put it up, but just so much traffic in the way that in the end could only succeed in once more getting it blocked by, unfortunately, a purple shirt. And as you talked about earlier, Spain doing a very good job being active in the cup. They're constantly moving around, staying on the balls of their feet, and lightning quick reactions as well. And I love that, not just getting the swat of it, David Camps Repiso did a very good job of making sure he caught it as well, so they get the offense back in motion quickly.
Baumgartner is hooking it and just immediately puts it into the end zone to Torres. Cordero being on the other side of the disc, this time not receiving the goal but throwing it for another break for the Spanish.
Spain are absolutely rocking and rolling right now. Some teams struggle a little bit when it gets a little bit warmer out. They can find it a bit difficult to stay as calm and composed as they get worn down by the sun a little bit, and sometimes just having that natural weather advantage that Spain do get with being in a little bit, I find it difficult just to get my head completely in frame.
Yeah, I know what you mean there. I think that a lot of the weather conditions can change up a team's mentality, but I feel like generally a sun out is always a reason to be happier as a team, whereas in rainy conditions, I think none but some Irish dudes will feel comfortable in.
I was gonna say, I think by this point, if I wasn't comfortable playing in rain, I'd be a pretty terrible Brit. It's I don't know, it's good layout weather. I'd say rain, but I see what you mean. Generally, given the choice, the overwhelming majority of people would prefer to play in this than a wet, windy day.
And the disc is back in the hands of EUtopia here with Michelbach. Over to Potolai, and great collected by Resillo. Back to Michelbach. Great over the top show by the lefty. Spain clogging in the lanes. Now De Camp. Directing traffic, but has to go for the dump, and they're doing a great work at resetting here, and as a huge layout defense for the big shot, the 50 shirt of Felix Padilla, working so much for the Spanish line, and he takes another timeout, which is the second timeout for the Spanish. And not the same, but like pretty much the same, similar position on the field, and good work again there by the Spanish defense.
And it comes in the same way Petardo getting an underneath shot. We just see there the replay of the previous point. Very unfortunate disc right into the temple there. Do hope that he's okay. And then you see the replay of the up the line shot, which was a really nice cut from Segales that got the previous Spanish score. And just taking the time out there on the sideline. Was a fantastic block from Petardo. Exploded right out of the traps like there were springs on his shoes, and fantastic layout block. And 3 blocks we've seen him get this game, and after 2 of them on that far sideline, he's chosen to take an immediate timeout. And you're just going to see it again here on the replay, giving up a lot of ground and just comes flying through. What an insane play from Petardo.
And what I also love about this play is he doesn't. The player is in no way near him, so he gets a clean bed throw. He is watching so that this woman he is defending here through the zone is not going to be hurt by him doing this amazing layout defense, which in mixed division I feel like is most important when playing a zone look, and as just watching your opponents especially carefully.
You have to be aware with that size differential that you're making bids that are not going to cause a lot of impact to some slightly smaller players, and doing a very good job of it there. And I think Spain playing a little bit of zone is a good use against an EUtopia team that obviously now has 4 games under the belt, but still, if you've got a slightly different defensive look that they haven't seen, because they just don't quite have that chemistry, they haven't had as much time playing together necessarily, then it might take them a little bit longer to work out. So good defensive strategy there and executed to perfection with a sick layout block from Petardo.
He is going to go back into the play with the disc in his hands, and now gets it off to Gonzalez. Going to be trapped at the sideline, but gets the dish off back to his player into the hands of Cordero, who's done so much for this team already. The number 50 shirt back with the disc and thrown right into the steady hands of an EUtopian defender, Simone Botolai there with a defense. Gets it over to Butmiga. Botolai back with the disc. Working 1 and 2 with Michlebach. Trapped now with crazy fakes. Michlebach gets it back on the far side of the pitch. Is going to be trapped, and not a lot of option, but looks to find the 11 shot, and great, amazing grab by the number 11 shot of Botolai, saving possession for EUtopia, but and a huge hammer over the top, and will be deflected by whom other than Jose Feliz Pedro Padilla for the Spanish side.
I think what we're seeing there is just the very definition of the conservation of greatness. Made a fantastic layout to keep that alive, and then with the adrenaline throwing thought, yeah, let's keep this going, let's throw a laser hammer, and asked so much of Reggio, and he just wasn't quite able to answer it on that occasion. At the tight Spanish defensive pressure once more from Petardo.
So Spain back with the disc, and 50 shirt getting so many touches, and great goal by the Spanish for another rolling in, and just 23 shirt of Cordero doing so much for the Spanish team. I'm pretty sure he is the stats leader for this game right now, getting every other goal here.
See there on that first possession, the Spanish got a little bit greedy with that inside backhand shot, and it was gobbled up by EUtopia. And that's a fantastic layout from Bortolai. It felt like he had no right to get that, even though you could see himself readying to bid. There was so much work to do in that time. Svarsands just about sneaked that in front. It's a smart block there from Mühlebach, just trying to come in and get there in time, but very quick hands, just about snatching it out of the grass, picking the pocket there, Juan Cordero. Credit Mühlebach for recognising that that was going to go a bit too far out in front, but just a split second too late for her.
Mühlebach coming from a Frisbee family, both her siblings and I think her parents as well were playing Frisbee before. She's one of those U17 Switzerland girls that were not able to make it here, but still managing to play for this EUtopia team and doing a lot for them.
Yeah, it's really good to see that obviously all of these Swiss players will have played together before. So rather than kind of umming and ahhing about it, obviously talking to each other, this is a great opportunity for us to go and experience these international tournaments, really improve as players and also as friends as well.
Especially, that's a great thing about this EUtopian teams. You can get more international friends. It's always a great thing to have. And as Ringeberg is at the disc now, puts it over to Otis, who is going to put it in the middle to Rodriguez. And Rodriguez launches it deep, and it's not going to be collected by Buffret. Just couldn't keep her hands around the disc, maybe overshot her a little bit there, and the Spanish get an opportunity to break for half.
Rodriguez will pick the disc up on the sideline with a chance, as you said, to give us an 8-1 scoreline and a half-time break after a game that was very tight to begin with. Spain have raced away with it, but that time throw off target.
And is that maybe a commentator's curse? Just a little bit, as EUtopia get another opportunity to score. Rodriguez there with a huge shot into the end zone. Will it be collected? Yes. Great hands of Ringeberg to collect that second goal for EUtopia. Great stuff. Amazing flick hook by the 88-year-old of Rodriguez, finding his target deep in the end zone for the goal.
Both of the goals for this European supergroup have gone into the hands of Ringeberg, showing how she can be very efficient as a deep cutter, despite not necessarily having a huge amount of sides. That one, she tracks a little bit under the disc and then realizes that she's got a slight bit of a misread on it, so changes her course, changes the direction, goes back towards the left side, reels it in nicely. Fantastically done.
That was great work by the young player. And she was in acres of space. There was no one near her, and she could easily collect that. The Spanish player just couldn't quite catch up with her.
Ringeberg having a very good day here for a game that's not gone quite so well for EUtopia, but she can be particularly proud of her performance, being very strong as a deep cutter for this EUtopia side.
EUtopia will try and work it for a break right here as they are going out on defense, ready to go. So we are back. Spain on offense. Cordero with the disc in the middle of the field. The steady cutter puts it back to Pulido. And Pulido's going to launch it for Cordero, but it's misread by Cordero and greatly collected by Tio Perez. And dish off to Cordero again, who's now looking for a cutting, goes for the scuba, and it will hit the turf, and EUtopia will get an opportunity for a break there.
There was some space for the scuba, but as Rurik came to catch it, the disc just sank like a stone and he couldn't reel it in.
Bautulai with the disc puts it over to Michel Bach, who's gonna put up a great side-on flick to Holzner, but the quick dish off doesn't connect, and Spain with another opportunity there for the half. Pulido puts it over to Cordero, who gets it on a second attempt. Doesn't want the first action, so back to Pulido. It's gonna get it up the line work, but it's not gonna up for it as well, and instead goes for the around. Back in the hands of Rorik. And over to Pulido, who's gonna put up a great around shot into the hands of the Spanish player for the half. Great collection there, amazing cut all the way over to the end zone. A lot of space to get that disc into her hands for the score. As we can see that great grab by Tio Perez once again That misread Scuba.
It looked like he had his hand set, and just as he's ready to catch it, it just dies very quickly into the turf. And here you see that quicker round backhand, not fully set with the pivot, but still on the pickup as he goes around, sat into space.
Bernabe with the easy collection there. And this is half for Spain. We are going to take a short break, and we will be back with you soon. Stay tuned for the second half action right here. Surprising for both teams, don't you think, Benji?
So the way the format works with the under-20 mixed division is there are 7 teams in a big round-robin pool. The top 4 teams go straight into semi-finals. The bottom 3 then play a little placement round-robin. And based on the way things have gone so far, both these teams have potential semi-final aspirations. We've said how Spain have won 3 games and lost 2, and EUtopia bringing a 2-2 record. And based on the way some of their previous games have gone, you'd think Spain would be favourites, but not necessarily by the large margin that we've seen take down in this first half.
Yeah, great stuff there by the Spanish defense, and they create another turn with playing their zone as there's a huge shot into the end zone right away. Jose Feliz connecting with the number 9 shirt of Gonzalez for another score. This 50 shirt for the Spanish, doing so much in the first half and continuing on with it right here, right now.
Petardo's having a very strong game. Bit of nuisance defensively, and this time picking the disc up after the turn, just zinging it down that far sideline at the very first time of asking. No hesitation, nothing the defender could do. Tried to peel off to help, couldn't get there in time, and Gonzalez makes the catch for a dream start to the second half for Spain. Continuing the second period, much as they ended the first, looking very dominant here at 9-2.
Yeah, their defense is working so well against this EUtopia team who look a little deflated now, and I hope they can pick up their happiness a little bit and again get some more energy going for them, because their main purpose here is to represent Europe and have fun playing this intense game.
And actually, that is something that their coaches talked about during the halftime huddle. Just think, we're out here to have fun. Let's enjoy ourselves a little bit more. Okay, things aren't going our way, but getting a little bit down and getting a little bit insular means we're never going to be able to play our best ultimate. So let's maintain our trust in ourselves, our trust in our teammates, and just go out there and have a little bit of fun on the live stream.
As we can see, Recio to pick up on a miscommunication and a bobble as Spain take another opportunity there and on offense. Great shot into space to Gio Perez to collect and into the end zone to the 93 shot of Bernabe, who seems to be all over the field for the Spanish team.
Third goal of the game for Claudia Bernabe, but yeah, it looks like there was a potential pick, but it's going to wave it off and call the goal.
Great stuff by the Spanish, good spirit by the EUtopia team, recognizing that maybe the other player wouldn't have caught up with the striking Bernabe for the score.
And after a very rocky start to the second period for EUtopia, 2 short field turns, and Spain have punched it in both immediately, that they're going to take a timeout here very early in the second half with things slipping away from them rapidly.
A good call to take this time out and refocus, getting energy that they have collected during the half now on the field, and hopefully score a point now coming out of this timeout.
To see both teams getting their coaching instructions during their little huddles. It's in the Spanish flag. Just a little bit of breeze in the background you can see beginning to come through. As we mentioned earlier, it's one of those things where it's not a devastating wind conditions, but it's enough to make you think and enough to make sure that you really have to execute properly on your throws.
Yeah, it's a thrower's wind, kind of, where a good thrower will still be able to put up great passes, but a mediocre throw or a thrower that does not concentrate on actually putting the execution in right will have a little bit of trouble just getting that throw off the exact way they wanted it. So we hear some great cheers and chants motivating their team is EUtopia as they go out of the timeout to take the field on offense.
What do you think EUtopia should change up here after the first 2 points generated those relatively short field turnovers?
I feel like they should refocus a little bit and just get back on their confidence, you know? Just a little bit of steady, confident, doing these things that they can do so well, which is catching a disc, throwing it, and running again. You know, that's just the basics of everything you want to do on a field is run, catch, throw, and that's what all of them I'm pretty sure can do phenomenally, but they just have to believe in themselves and also in their teammates, which is hard for a pickup team every time, and as they are pickups from international waters and just so many different countries, it's harder to trust each other, but that's what they have to find right here, the trust. Müchelbach to pick up, putting it over to Otis. And this is a great start, but just a bit of a miscommunication there between the two EUtopia players as Carlos will pick back up for the Spanish team.
You can see EUtopia were definitely trying to pick up the pace there, get the disc moving a little bit quickly. But that time, again, we talked about how you need to make sure you're executing on the throws. Just rushed it a little bit, and that was all it needed to be, enough off target for a defender to come steaming through and get the block.
Great work there for Fernandez, just putting it over. And a huge shot into the end zone for the striking Spanish player, and will be collected for a goal. The air shirt of Pelé. Great positioning, skies a bunch of people in the air and makes sure the disc gets into his hands safely.
It's not the first time here we've seen Mühlebach come in and trying to make good help defense, but that time, again, giving up the height mismatch. The defender is beat to the cone. He gets on the back shoulder, tries to come in, but Brasa can't get there in time, and it is nice body positioning there from the Spanish number 8, Alejandro Pelé. And now Spain just almost with the end in sight now, the way they've played after the first few points of this game, just raced away with it now for 11-2.
We can see the hand signal for 4 women by the EUtopian side. You know, I love that this option of going either 4 or 3 women on either side after they change it, if the offense can decide every time, so making it a bit more fair in the rules now. With every second point, one team can decide whether to go with 3 or 4 girls. So we see a great ballerina pull by the Spanish number 50 shirt of Petado. And they're back in their zone. Putting it over to Rodriguez in the middle of the pitch. Over to Maj. And into the grab of 92 shirt of Munga, but there's a bit of contact and she can't hold on to it, but there might be a foul called on the field as players will discuss. You can see a replay of that. She gets in. There is a bit of contact with Gonzalez, but they will discuss it and find the solution.
You can see here the players talking about it, and
it's going to be retracted, and the turnover is going to stand for the Spanish side.
So another short field turnover there for Spain. And again, just having the discussion there, thinking, oh, I felt a bit of contact, did it affect? In the end, deciding that it didn't, retracting the call, and now Spain once more with a short field turnover, trying to punch it in.
Padilla with the disc puts it up, a huge sidearm into the end zone, and that is bookends for Gonzalez. Great work. Sees that not a lot of options are coming out for the Spanish side, and opts to go back deeply into the end zone, just waiting for a perfect put by Petado, who's done so much for the Spanish side with the disc. can see that arcing sidearm blade calmly collected by Gonzalez there for the score.
You can see that Petardo's holding out that flick the entire way. That's the throw that he wants, and he's really telegraphing it. But even so, just the defender gets sold a little bit too much towards the break side. There's a little bit of a window, and able to sit it out nicely into space for Gonzalez, getting it in front of Recio. And 12-2 for Spain. And this zone has just caused EUtopia all sorts of problems. It's probably something they haven't necessarily seen before, and obviously not having that same requisite level of chemistry, playing as zones against teams that just aren't quite as sure with themselves and with each other how they positioned out. That's something that I'd practiced as well, I think. Good coaching from the Spaniards.
I agree, and with that bit of a wind helping them as well. Although EUtopia doesn't seem to get a lot of those actions, there's a lot of bad luck in there as well, just not keeping the discs in their hands sometimes. And as we see, great collection there early, getting the disc moving early as Michelbach. And she's gonna wait in dump space to get a break over. And it's gonna be getting over to Otis, who searches for a deep option first, and over to Michelbach, and Otis and Michelbach going 1 and 2, and this time around Otis can't get the ground and lay out for the grab as Spain get another opportunity.
Looked like Zocker was maybe thinking about a bit as well, and in the end it's a good job that he didn't, because there was a high chance of him and Hoffman knocking heads there.
As the 22 shot is going to put it in for Cordero, and Cordero is waiting for an option. Finding Pulido again, and Pulido's going to put it into the end zone for Soria for another score.
EUtopia is just at 6s and 7s against the Spanish side right now. They're looking like they don't know quite what's hit them. They've just been absolutely rocked. And just think, like, it's only 45 minutes ago or so that we'd had 2 points, and both teams had clean offensive possessions to begin this game. And it looked like we'd be in for a real barnstormer of a contest. But Spain have just found so many more gears, and they've fired up the engine, and there's just nothing that the EUtopia have been able to do to answer them.
EUtopia just looking a little stifled there, not being able to take on the pressure by the Spanish defenders.
And this would be the biggest loss that EUtopia have suffered so far this week. They went down 15-10 to the Netherlands and 15-7 to Latvia, and on paper, certainly the Latvians are a stronger side than Spain. So you would think that, oh, maybe that scoreline will be a little bit tighter, but Spain, the way they're playing has caused so many problems for EUtopia, and they just haven't had the answers to the questions that they've been asked.
One more time, Utopia will field the pole into the hands of Munga. Over to Maj, back to Munga. Rodriguez with the disc now, directing traffic, and a bounce off the hands of Fofrey, and just unfortunate as Spain will pick up one more time. Cordero, a great layout defense. Amazing stuff by Rodriguez there to get the disc back, and he's going to pick up as well for this EUtopia team. And putting it into the safe hands of Munga, who looks to jack it deep, and he's a huge sidearm blade, but is going to be collected by the 23 shirt of Cordero. And Cordero is going to put it into space to Bernabe. And jacked away once again. EUtopia is firing. Amazing stuff by the pickup team from all around Europe.
They finally got some big defensive plays. It previously like they were always just a set behind, but now they're just feeling like, okay, if we're going to go down, we may as well put some big plays on the highlight reel and give ourselves a little bit more energy. So first, a big layout came flying through from Cristobal Rodriguez.
And now they're taking a time out, which is a bit I feel a bit sad about this, because I would have loved to just see the more as they're isolating a cutter, and great inside shot by the into the hands of the 25 shirt of Tio Perez, who's taken a huge collision with Maj there. Didn't see the girl with the disc in the end, I believe. They're gonna call it a goal. I hope the young Spanish player is fine.
This red zone set here for Spain was very interesting to me. They had three, rather than just have the standard two handlers, but they had three handlers out. But EUtopia a little bit confused. There was no one on the handler, and you can see there Madge tries to pull out a little bit, but just gets a shoulder right into the midsection of Tio.
She's going up for the disc, doesn't see the defender there, and he immediately apologizes. This is not what he wanted to do there.
I think part of that comes from the fact that the throw goes a little bit to the inside shoulder. If it goes more to the outside, the Madge knows there's probably not going to be a chance of him getting it, and he's going to maybe pull out a little bit sooner, or the throw's just going to lead the cutter into more space, so she's got a little bit more room to work with. It was a little bit inside, and that way Madge tried to get in there and get the block. In the end, all he could do was get his opponent, but he instantly signaled the goal. There was never any question about that, and very apologetic for his actions.
Great spirit there by the young player as Spain is taking a 14-2 lead, and with another break here, I dare to say that they would finish out this game with a win. As they're coming out in a kind of a zony look once more. This has worked so well for them, with Otis with the hands into immediately puts it into a Spanish defender, and garbage is not collected, and Spain will go back to pick it up. Pulido with the disc puts it over to Okina.
It feels like every time EUtopia have got the disc, it's taking everyone a couple of seconds to figure out exactly where they need to be.
Huge shot by the number 9 shirt, excuse me, of Gonzalez, putting it into the hands of Camps, and there is some collision with Otis, but he stays with the disc in his hands and will be checked back in. A great shot over the top and calls an immediate time. That push pass look, amazing thing. Benji, you must love that especially, right?
I mean, I love a push pass. Whether we could technically call that a push pass, I'm not sure. I think the idea of a push pass is you push it to get spin on it, but that was like a children's TV style custard pie almost, just had nothing on it, but it did enough to get over the defender and into the hands. And I guess there's a school of thought that it doesn't necessarily matter how ugly it looks. If the throw's caught, then everything's okay. And we're seeing here that deep shot from Gonzalez, winding up the arm. I think that Hoffman maybe thinks he has a little bit more position than he does, and good work coming up strong, get back towards the disc from Camps. Gets a little bit of contact, all quickly resolved, and we're seeing here on a high stall, not really seeing a lot, just almost putting it over the crossbar, just about gets behind the hands of the defender, Bortolai, and very good focus here to maintain the catch. Pulido, it's always difficult to make those catches when there is so little spin on the disc, but obviously with things a little bit panicked and a little bit cluttered, just saying, we've got no stall here, we're in a very good position, let's take the time out and put the game to bed.
Pulido must play a lot of flabbergats at home, getting some great hands to this very...
Surely that's not allowed, because you can't catch it two-handed. I thought that was the whole point.
You're right.
But I get the point, the idea that just you've got to practice sometimes catching those more unorthodox throws, because every now and again they're going to come out in the game, maybe because they just come out of the hand a little bit weird, or sometimes they get tipped by a defender and it varies the flight path and the spin of the disc. So just making sure that you're happy collecting those slightly more awkward and a little bit ugly discs is an important skill to have.
I agree, and we can see the Spanish side opting for that 2-5 setup in front of their end zone, as Pulido is going to put the disc back into play and immediately put it deep for the 10 shirt of Sanchez Rossi for the score and the game.
I can't believe this game was 1-1 at one point with both sides looking so good early on, and then Spain ran away with it. EUtopia clawed one back towards the end of the first half, but Spain pitching a shutout in the second, just absolutely ruthless. Any mistakes were pounced upon by Spain. Just a consummate performance. They played smartly defensively. On offense, occasionally it got a little bit dicey for them, but generally they had nice throws out into space. EUtopia tried to poach those options a little bit of time, but Spain did a very good job at attacking the poaches, just really forcing them to commit and either getting them out of position or just beating them to the spaces. They couldn't flip their hips quickly enough, and you saw it there on the scoring pass. Fantastic work from Alejandro Sanchez Rossi, and just see it here, just gets in front of the defender. Hoffman sitting there underneath space, but he turns a little bit late, can't catch up, and Spain with a very well-deserved 15-2 win.
It was some great performance by Spain, and we'll hope to see them again in a semi-final matchup maybe, and we will be back with more live action today. Later at 3:15, we will have Belgium and Sweden matchup in the under-17 open division. Stay tuned and come back for some more live action. I have been Christina Obermeier, joined by wonderful Benji Rees, and we will see you again soon.